All right, it's the Feed the Kitty cast, the pandemic version, and we are here with America's favorite psycho, Steve Lyons is with us, everybody, to talk about baseball and stuff in lockdown.
Oh man, thank you for being here, Steve. You know, this is episode number 123, but
Wow.
Steve was back on the show in 2017. It was February 8th. It was episode number 19.
Wow.
But in 2016, it was October, and Jack, we were setting up at the Hermosa Saloon. I think you remember this.
I do.
And there was a big baseball game going on, and this was right around the time that they were implementing the replay, I believe. And
Right.
Steve was over there yelling at the TV, and Jack starts yelling at the TV. And I think you guys were on opposite ends of the spectrum on that thing. And then Jack walks back as we were setting up. I go, dude, that's Steve Lyons you're talking to over there.
And I was like,
oh, man.
what? No way. So I went back and I said, I had no idea I was debating baseball with a baseball player.
Yeah, and I've been told I'm on the spectrum too. So it's cool because
Well, and how do you guys both feel about it now that it's been there a few years?
Right now, I would have a replay after every pitch just to watch baseball.
Do you think it was the right decision, Steve, to bring it back?
I hate it. I
Okay.
hate it, and it's and I knew when they first brought it in, and they said they were only going to do judging whether a home run was fair or foul, or whether it was out of the park or not. I said no way. We're opening up a can of worms. They're going to start using it for everything, and of course they do. And
Right.
They never get it right, even when they do use it. So I don't really get it when you can watch a replay and you can see the guy is clearly out, and they come back and they still call him safe. I think it takes a lot of the human element out of the game. There's no more arguments anymore. That was kind of a fun part of the game. And let's face it, I mean, I've seen the replays, and I know that the umpires get a lot of the calls wrong. But at the end of the day, they're still the best in the world at what they do, and they're right most of the time. It is such a hard job, and
Yeah.
It was really impressive for me to watch those guys do their job and do it well.
Well, I've been watching replays of baseball on YouTube since I can't get the real thing right now. And there was a classic game in Wrigley Field where it was a home run controversy. This is like mid to early 80s. And they sat and argued this call for like 30 minutes. And the replay, if you will, was the old technology. So this grainy video trying to see if the ball was fair or foul over and over. And of course, Harry Carey is calling the game. And it's a hilarious clip. And it did bring me back to those days of yore, right? Where
Yeah.
it's classic baseball and you just don't get that anymore.
Yeah, it's to me it was just a bad idea from the beginning, and it's not going away. Shoot, they're talking about electronic umpires now, and it's taken away some of the heart of the game, certainly for me.
Well, when in tennis they use that digital technology to find fair or foul balls, does that take away from the game of tennis?
Well, I think in tennis it's a little bit different because, the referees that have to govern the sport aren't right on top of the play usually. They're looking across the court to see if it hit the line or something, or they're way down the line in order to see. And I think even the players in that sport have kind of embraced that. But the problem that I have in baseball with replay is that we have too many computer geeks that are running the game now, and in their mind they think the game has to be perfect and every call has to be perfectly right, and you have to get it right every time. That's never been the way the game's played. We want the calls to be right, but baseball was one of the earliest forms of teaching me how to deal with adversity when someone made a bad call, and I had to live with it and overcome it and try to be better because of it.
Life is not fair.
Yeah, get used to it.
Okay.
It's not getting any easier anytime soon.
Damn it, Jed, he's got an answer for everything. Well, Steve, we are in lockdown now. What is your experience with the new normal, if you will?
Other than the fact that I'm not working, it hasn't been bad. I'm bored at times, but I'm getting a ton of stuff done around the house that I probably should have done during the regular off season and
Yeah.
didn't do. But Now, I've got a paintbrush in my hand all the time. Oh, there's a little nick in the paint right there. I can fix that one. I have my doors refinished. Going for long walks, which helps.
That's great.
To get out and breathe a little bit. But, hanging around the house isn't all that bad. I just have that feeling that I should be doing something else or doing something more, and I don't get the chance to do it.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure if you're in Los Angeles or Boston, but I was looking at the schedule, and it looks like the Red Sox would have been at Toronto today. What's your, walk me through one of your days, a normal day, if it would have been like Toronto at Boston? What do you have to do each day?
Yeah, the most disappointing thing for me this year was the fact that I was probably going to do about 25 or 30 games in the booth and not just the pre and post game show. And one of those series was the West Coast trip we had out here through Seattle and then into Oakland. My brothers live in Seattle, Oakland, everyone that I know, my girlfriend Stacy, they would have come up for those games. And then we were going to be in Anaheim too. And that would have been nice. And I would have been able to call those games. Today's game would have been a day where, I go to work at about 3, get to Fenway Park around 3 o'clock, hang out at the ballpark, talk to some of the players. If there's something specific to that game that I have to get information on, I'll go and talk to a specific player about it. I'll get all the notes, obviously talk to some of the opposing players to see what's been going on with them. And then, 6 o'clock is the pregame show, and it comes on for an hour. And that's usually hosted by Tom Caron and usually myself and someone like Jim Rice. And we'd talk about what we thought was going to happen for an hour before the game. Then we'd watch the game, and then afterwards we'd talk for another hour on what happened and to prove everybody that I was absolutely right with everything I said.
That's the important thing. Well, Steve, when you're in a band, you're only as good as your drummer. And on a baseball team, I say you're only as good as your announcer.
Yeah.
And you, sir, are an incredibly good broadcaster. And I'm not saying that lightly. I grew up in St. Louis. I listened to Jack Buck. I know what's up, and you do a hell of a job. And I'm really glad to see you find your way into this new field that you're doing.
I think I'm really good too. It's amazing. I love getting the chance to do it. And you know what? Joe Buck's awesome too. Jack's son.
I think Joe gets a bad rap.
People don't like Joe Buck is because he's so overexposed. I mean, he's the voice of Fox. He does football. He does baseball. He does golf. He does everything. So, he might be a little overexposed, and he has such a cavalier attitude about what he's doing because he's so well versed at it all and has been his whole life. So, I think maybe sometimes that comes off to people as arrogance. And, when he's a baseball broadcaster, he's not really a play-by-play guy because in baseball, it's pretty clear cut. Play-by-play guy, sets up the game, talks about the players, and then the analyst, analyzes the game. He's the expert. He tells you what's going on and why it happened. But Joe has been involved in baseball for so long. He knows the game. So he's not afraid to offer his opinions too. So he kind of slides over into that chair a lot. But he's, I just think he's excellent. He always has been. And to the people that don't like him, I think there's, maybe just a little bit too much of Joe Buck.
Yeah, I think if you're not liked, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and plus, isn't your drummer in a little box where you just press the button and it comes on and goes...
Yes, we've replaced our drummer with a machine.
Yeah. He's really good.
Hey, sometimes we don't even need a drummer.
That's it.
Cool. Well, can you give us any insight on what is going to happen with the season this year? Any inside scoop that wouldn't get you in trouble for telling us?
I wish I had a little inside scoop. I do know they're talking, and I know that they're getting closer to making some decisions. That's encouraging to me because they're kicking around ideas. They're trying to figure out a way where they can do this. I think baseball wants to be the sport that comes back. I think they want to bring the nation and globally, I think they want to bring the world back together a little bit. They were the ones that the sport that did it right after 9/11 too. So we need it. We need something. And, it's going to be restrictive. We've heard the ideas of every team playing in Arizona and quarantining in hotels. That'll get really old for the players really fast. And there's going to be a lot of complaining. But I think in the long run, you're going to see a lot of guys saying, hey, we can be the sport that kind of brings a nation back together and and bring things back. So they're talking about it, and I'm optimistic. I think they will play this year. So
I love
maybe
to
no
hear
fans. Yeah, but TV.
Yeah. Well, I thought of like a couple of ideas. You could make an app, right? And in the stadium, you install a speaker in every seat. And then on the app, while you're watching the game at home, you can cheer and it will broadcast your applause throughout the stadium.
Nice.
Terrible idea.
I like that idea.
And it may sound different, but you know, you'd get used to the new crowd noise, if you will, and like maybe that would pump the players up enough to where they could play a decent game of ball, you know?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Plus, you know, I think you'd have to turn the sound way down because I think it would be very popular. So, you know, there would be 50,000 seats with a speaker in it. That could get awfully loud quick. Plus,
Absolutely.
out of all that noise, I could still hear someone saying, "Hey, Lyons, you're a bum."
Ah! Well, that's great. Jed, do you have any other questions?
Well, you know, speaking of Arizona, I first met Steve when I was in high school in Scottsdale at Chaparral.
Wow.
And not only did I go to high school with his daughter, Kristen, but we went to high school with Paul Konerko.
Yes.
He played for the Chicago White Sox, and it was so fun to watch his career. He hit a grand slam in 2005 in the World Series. And,
he made millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and I kept, you know, looking at Kristen sideways saying, "Why didn't you pick him?"
I think every girl in high school was saying that. You know, he got drafted right when we graduated. It was awesome. My question to you is, you know, he hit 439 home runs, over 1,400 RBIs. Is there any chance to get in the Hall of Fame if you don't hit 500 home runs?
You know, 500 used to be the benchmark, and then, you know, when PEDs came in, that kind of got shattered. But now, you know, since they backed off on that, the 500 home run mark isn't necessarily the way to get in anymore if you have other numbers to go around. He's borderline. I mean, and you know, I'm so good now that I've been done playing. He only hit 420 home runs more than I did. So come on, I mean, that should be right there neck and neck. It should be Konerko, Lyons. Which one's getting in?
Well, no, you can get in. You can get in the Hall for broadcasting.
Yeah, that won't happen either.
A few months back, Jack, Steve was at one of our shows, and Jack said something about, you know, I wish it was over the microphone and said, "I wish I could be a Major League Baseball player, but I can't hit a fastball." And then Steve yelled back and goes, "I can hit a fastball, I just can't hit that curveball."
Couldn't hit anything else.
Okay, I was gonna say, is hitting the curveball, does that set you apart, you know, from other players?
Yeah, I mean, there are some guys that struggle with a good fastball. I mean, at the end of the day, a really good fastball is still one of the best pitches in baseball. But, you know, my dad raised me to get my bat head out, to hit the ball out in front. My dad was one of my greatest coaches ever. But that was the one thing he messed up on. You know, if I don't really teach a lot of baseball lessons or anything, if I did, I would teach defense because I wasn't a great hitter. But if I had to do it over again, I would teach every kid, if they're a right-handed hitter, to drill line drives over the second baseman's head. Let the ball get deeper into the zone, hit it over the second baseman's head all day long, because that way you're using the whole field. And if the pitch fools you a little bit, if they throw you that curveball, or if it throws you a changeup, and not every pitch is going to be a fastball, now you might be out in front of it a little bit. And instead of hitting over the second baseman's head, you hit it over the shortstop's head. So you still have more room for error to make a good play. Your swing is more honed in. I was so dead pull conscious that if I got out in front, I either missed it or I'd pull it foul. That's no good. I hit some of the longest home runs in the history of the world foul.
The wrong way.
I would have been a good cricket player, I think. You know?
You don't have the accent.
You know, I would have learned to hit the ball the other way early in my career, and it would have made me a better hitter.
Well, you're probably most famous for the pants incident, which has made the top 100 funniest sports moments of all time videos for the rest of time. That sounds better than like the top 100 most bonehead sports plays or whatever that people say.
I watched it a few times. I love that video. I love the reaction on your face. You're just like, ah.
Hey, let's watch it real quick here. Hang on. Let's take a look at it.
All right.
There's the bunt. That could be trouble as Petrie. No, Stevie dives in and beats it. Good effort by Steve Lyons.
That'll be a base hit right there. Good job. I'll tell you one thing, not a bad defensive play either by the Tigers.
Did you see that? He's going to get the dirt out, and all of a sudden he unbuckled his pants and they fell down.
One of
The
life's
face is about the same color as the bill of that cap right now.
Geez, I don't think that's really the proper place to do that, but
He forgot where he was. He
Yeah.
had a vapor lock.
Yeah.
He had a brain cramp.
oh my.
All right. Well, I have a question about this. When I was
could have
in,
been bonehead plays.
well, this play lives on in my heart. I think of this play when I want to happy up. You know what I mean? And first of all, you slid into first.
Yeah. Big no-no.
Big no-no. But when I was in high school, I was in
a player like me. When you hit a ball and you think you might be safe, you can see the base there, and you're running as fast as you can. And I would just anticipate thinking, oh, if I could just get there a little faster, and I would get so excited, I'd dive for the base, hoping to be safe. It worked.
You psycho.
They tried to argue the play, right, Jack?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did. But when
I guess I should ask.
for example, now I don't know if you've ever been asked this about this play, but when I was in high school, I had a prop. I was in a play and I had a prop that broke right before I went on stage. And I knew when I went on stage that the prop would break. And the scene was I was in the bushes messing around with some girl. And then I jumped out and I knew the prop was going to break and fall. And I had the line already prepared. And I said, well, things have been popping out of my pants all night. Ooh. And it slayed the audience for like a minute. They were dying because I knew they would. Was there anything in the back of your mind that was like, I'm Steve Psycho Lyons. I'm supposed to be a crazy guy. I'm just going to give him a little show right now and perpetuate my reputation.
Good
A lot
question.
of people, there are people out there that thought that I thought it out or did it on purpose, but I really didn't. I was a little crazy and off the wall, but I also had a real healthy respect for the game. So I would never do anything to, upset the balance of the game or try to make a farce of what was going on out there. I just, like you said, I mean, I had dirt running down the inside of my pants. It wasn't very comfortable in there. Cecil Fielder was arguing with the umpire, and there was a lot of choice words going on. And so I just literally forgot that I was still standing on the field, and I just yanked him down. But, I mean, just like you, now I've had years and years of time to think of answers when people ask me, what was I thinking? I mean, obviously nothing, but, I tell people I needed a date. There wasn't much going on in Detroit, whatever. I mean, I've heard about it every day of my life since then.
I think you should make the Hall of Fame just from that play alone.
Just from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my underwear, I think they're in the Hall of Fame.
Put them behind glass. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a nice butt back then.
I can't wait till we're back in the South Bay playing live music and having Steve show up to our gigs, man. We love
too.
that.
Steve has been a very, very magnanimous man with Feed the Kitty, and we really appreciate you giving your time and your thoughts. We respect your opinion, and you're the man. What can I say?
Well, I enjoy coming on anytime. Let's see, what'd you say? I was on show 19 and now 127?
That's right.
No, today is 123.
123.
So who's counting?
Let's not go 100 episodes in between the next visit.
I hope not, sir. But thanks
I'll
for
get on the
joining us,
website
man.
and find out when the next show is.
All right. Well, we're gonna let you know, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Steve.
Let baseball live. Bring baseball back.
And unite.
We'll be
That'll be
back.
awesome.
We'll be back.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Steve.
All right.
All right. Anytime.
Later.
Peace.
Yeah.